Hey guys, and welcome to how to paint orc flesh on an Ardboy big boss for Ironjawz in Age of Sigmar. Okay, so we're going to be doing some sort of classic, I guess, orc flesh here on this Ardboy big boss, and we're using a very similar palette to what I used on one of the 40k orcs I did a couple of years ago now. In the hobby chats, or it could have been for one of the vlogs. I can't remember now, but it's about a year or two ago. And we're gonna pick that palette up again and do it here on this Ardboy for a more sort of classic style skin with a subtle variation. We've got that bile green there that I used on the previous orc skin video from the last time, and the pale orc skin. And so we're gonna bring that across into this one just to add some continuity to the skin tones as I'm doing a few videos on this subject. I thought it'd be good to keep that consistency through it. And we're going to be doing some underpainting and overpainting like I've done before. We've got a set of colors here: purple, reds, magentas, blues. We're going to get that into the skin tones first, and then come back over with our more classic green skin tones here. We've got some sick green, some goblin green, and the bile green from Vallejo. And we're going to build that up and come up with something really cool that's that quintessential sort of look, I guess, with a slight tweak. I think that's a pretty fun one to do for this one. So I'll stop all this blabbering on and let's get started, eh? Okay, so first up we have the underpainting. So we're going to start with that night blue and just basically base coat all of the flesh. And so we've got a nice color there rather than the black undercoat. So we start building up some color, and that's just a normal base coat. And once we've got that down, then we move into some of the colorful work. So we've got that royal purple there, and what you're trying to do is simulate, the sort of colors under the skin. So we're going to be placing that purple in areas where we want to see sort of blood coming to the surface, that sort of thing, or discolorations in the skin. So around the eyes, around the elbows and the hands and so on, anywhere in between the muscle groups, anywhere that you want to change the shadow a little bit and give it a different look. And so the purple is there to do that, to change the shadow. And so once we've done that, and that's a fairly decent coverage around those various hot spots on the skin, and then we're going to come into that scarlet red, and this one is a little bit more of a selective one. It's a little bit less. You'll see me go in and we're going to target now some hot spots, so around the eyes, that sort of thing, ears, hands and knuckles, and those sorts of areas. Some areas where the skin is a little bit tighter and a bit more thin, and so those undercolors are going to show through the skin, and places where you might be leaving it for later on when we do the overpainting. So that's the sort of thing. And then once we've got that sorted out, then we move into one final one, which is the magenta. Now this one is for those really extreme little hot spots. I like adding this in. It's not necessary, I guess, the magenta, but I do really enjoy adding it. You'll see me do it a lot. So I just put these in the very extreme areas around the eyes and ears and those sorts of places, just for a little pop of extra bright color to give us another variation. So we have a few different colors working in the underpainting there to start us off, and we should have a really nice result. Now it's on to the fun bit. So we've got the skin build up. And so to start with, we've got that night blue and sick green mix, about 50-50 here. And we're going to start by just, unifying the surface. So you're painting the skin, but you'll see as I do it, you're trying to sort of flick the edges of your brush and create a sort of patchwork of feathered edges and mark making as you're base coating it, so that you're allowing some of the underpainting to show through and give some of that color through. So in those deeper recesses of the muscle groups, that sort of thing. Now you're going to vary the amount that you do here. You don't want every shadow to be exactly the same or the same depth. So some of these more shallow areas you'll paint over with this base coat, and others you'll leave. You really just decide as you go, as you're feathering the color across and creating these marks. Orc skin is very leathery, very very textured, so you want to sort of simulate that as you go. But I'll leave it up to you how far you want to go. So from there, we're moving into the sick green sort of proper, and this is another base layer here, and you'll see me just go around and start to really define the muscle group. So it's a very similar step to the one previous, but we're trying to now be a bit more selective and establish each of those muscle groups, imagining the light coming from above, so you're starting to get a little bit of gradient to the underside, which will be a little bit darker. And so once we're happy with that, then we're coming into our sort of mid-tones or our mid-tone level, and that's that goblin green. And this is another layer tone here, or starting to move into a highlight. And you'll see me just picking out, now we're focusing on the raised side of each of the muscle groups, and trying to imagine that light coming from above, and flicking the brush around and creating those little marks and little crisscrosses and so on, and hatch marks on the surface to start to build up some of that texture on the skin. And so once we're happy with that coverage, then we move into our first sort of real highlight layer. And this is the goblin green mixed with the bile green, about 50-50 here, sort of in between color. And now we're moving down a brush, and you're trying to really establish some nice brights there. So hitting those top areas of the muscle groups, etc. Trying to really build some lights, paying more attention to the face and the focal points, the hands, the knuckles, those sort of areas. You know, orcs are very exaggerated sculpts. You know, they're very, or at least GW ones are, and so you want to further emphasize that, all those really raised areas on the muscles and so on, to really make them stand out. And so once we've got that sorted out, now we're moving into a really fine highlight, and this is your off bile green highlight here, which is just almost full bile green but not quite. And so we're just going to now just pay attention to just really targeting those specific areas around the face, the top areas, leaving the undersides to fall away into shadow. And you're trying to really just create some extremes there to really lift the orc skin and make it really stand out. And so once we're happy with that, now we're moving into two final steps of really sharp, fine highlights. One's a really sharp highlight, and the next one will be a spot. And so that's the pure bile green. So you don't want to use too much of this. You want to mostly focus it around the face, around the ears and eyes and so on, and building some of that extreme sort of goblin or orc skin. And so you pay attention to around the knuckles, those sort of areas, and it's very fine little highlights across the tops of some of those muscle groups there, just to really bring them out, only focusing on the top areas where the light is hitting from above. And then finally, as I said, we've got that spot highlight. And with this, you're really just being very careful here. It's got a little bit of white mixed in, and you don't want too much white, just a small amount. And you're just hitting the very raised top points. So the ends of the ears, the top point around the eyebrow there, anywhere where your highlights come to an edge or a point, you're just putting a few little hot spots in, mostly around the face and the hands, a little bit around maybe some of the other areas on the model, but mostly around that spot, just to really help bump it and bring it to life. And you should end up with a really lovely result. And there we go, some nice classic orc flesh on an Ardboy Big Boss. Let's take a look. So yeah, you can see how it comes out. It's a fun little build up and something to try. You know, if you want to vary your techniques on painting orcs, it's definitely a fun one. You know, playing around with the undertones and then coming back in over the top is a really great thing to try. And yeah, I think it comes out pretty cool, and it's a nice contrast with the red armor that I've done here. I think that's pretty cool. Orcs always look good in red, and yeah, I think it's pretty good. So the next time we'll come back, we're going to do a full video on a big boss, but you'll see that coming up pretty soon. That'll be the next one in these videos, and we'll put it all together. We'll do the red armor and the skin, some of these little weapons and so on. I've chosen to do them bone, but you can do them any way that you want. We'll do a full scheme on one of those big bosses, the Ironjawz ones, so the bigger guys. So yeah, I think that'll be a really cool one to try. So yeah, hopefully that'll come out pretty soon, so you'll be able to see it all together. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I've enjoyed painting him. He's a pretty cool one. So I'll leave the paint list and a nice image of this one at the end, as I normally do. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I guess I'll catch you on the next one.